It's 7:30, so I'd like to call to order this regular meeting of the Board of Finance for January 14th, 2025. As normal, we'll start with public comment. Do we have anyone from the public who'd like to speak? Please state your name and your address.
My name is Luz Elena Bueno, 123 Hoyt Street. Between 2021 and 2023, this board cut the school budget in real terms by $7.8 million, giving a guideline below inflation levels to the Board of Ed. In 2021, the budget increased by 4.2%, and inflation was 4.7%. So you cut the budget $561,000 in real terms. In 2022, budget increased by 2.24%, inflation by 8%. The cut in the budget was $6.1 million, real terms. In 2023, the budget increased 3.74 in nominal terms, and inflation was 4.1. So the cut in the budget was $1.1 million in real terms. That puts us on a $7.8 million hole in the budget. In 2024 and 2025, we have barely covered inflation. So that is why we are firing teachers to pay for healthcare, transportation. It is what it is. And to give you like a perspective, I'm going to give a little background. In 2007, the Board of Education budget increased by 6.8%. Inflation was 2.9%. That was the real increase in the budget was 3.9%. That is like normal. That's a conservative all over the world. Around in America, the average increase of home property values is 4% a year over long term. And so the board, normally you increase education in proportion of the increase of property values. But in 2008, that changed with the Great Recession that hit us so hard. And that's why between 2016 and 2020, the average increase in the Board of Education budget was 1% higher than inflation, still higher and average, never lower, even in the worst times, except 2021. 2021 increase in home 17.9%, and we cut the budget. 2022 increase in home property values 4.83%, and we cut the school budget. 2023 increase in property values 6.51%, and we cut the school budget. So even if Mr. Jack Davis just told me inflation has nothing to do with the budget, I mean, I don't even know where to start. I understand that Americans are not used to inflation,
We're over 3 minutes, so if you mind wrapping things up. Thank
okay.
you.
We created a $7.8 million hole. It's time to rectify that mistake. I mean, not we, you created a hole. It's time to rectify that mistake. We are causing damage in the schools that are irreparable. We're not going to go back after this. Before the Great Recession, it was 4% increases in real terms. We are now not increasing, cutting. This is going to hurt our property values. This is going to hurt our kids' education. And to be clear, I have a senior and have going to high school. I don't have little kids. This is not personal.
I'm going to have to ask you to wrap up, please.
I wrap up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else from the public who'd like to speak this evening? Jen, have we received any emails with public comment?
You have received emails regarding the Board of Ed budget, but they were not identified as public comment for this meeting.
Thank you. All right, then we will move on to item 1 on the agenda, administrative transfers. Go ahead, Jen.
All right. For those of you who are new to the board, I think you were part of the action where we increased the limit for administrative transfers. So the finance director can approve up to $500, And then the finance director with the town administrator can approve up to $6,250 now. It used to be $5,000. And then twice a year, the finance director will report to you what was done as administrative transfers, just so you can see how it's being used. So this is pretty typical that we only have a few that occur in the first half of the year. We had a total of 8, and they totaled just under $21,500. The big ones that I wanted to call your attention to are actually for Park and Rec. They've had 2 for tree maintenance, totaling actually $6,000. They're kind of chasing their tail on it because they've had a lot of tree work that needs to be done. I just want to call your attention to that because that's actually you're going to see an increase in their budget request for 26, specifically for tree maintenance. They have a bit more of a plan on that, on how to get ahead of it a bit. Everything else is pretty standard, pretty normal for this time of year. And this is just informational, no votes needed.
On the police transfer, are we able to move that because of the unfilled staff positions?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions on the administrative transfers?
Jen, on the new credit card machines, are those terminals ours?
Yes.
Or are they, okay.
I
always thought kind of the provider gave
we
them.
own them.
I might be wrong.
I believe we own them.
Okay, no action required there, right?
Correct.
Thank you. All right, discussion and action, set interest rate for tax deferral.
This is one we have to do every year. Per the Code of Ordinances, we set a tax, the town has 2 tax deferral plans, a Plan A and a Plan B. The rate that they are set at is actually based off of the December earnings rate at the State Treasurer's Investment Fund, STIF. So for December of 2024, it was 4.66%. Plan A will be at 0.5% above that, so 5.16%. Plan B at 1% above it, so 5.66%. And then after you take action on this, it goes to the assessor's office so that they can properly apply the deferral rates.
What are these rates right now? Do you know off the top of your head? I should have asked this ahead of time, sorry.
They were slightly higher last year because the
Slightly.
STIF rate was, I think, like low 5.1 or somewhere around there.
So this is a modest reduction in this rate?
Yes.
To the best of our recollection. Okay. Any questions? All right, so can I have a motion to set the interest rate for tax deferral for Plan A at 5.16% and for Plan B at 5.66%? Rob Cardone, Jen, any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous. All right. Discuss assignments for 25-26 budget process. I don't know that this is an action item this evening. I spoke with, or I exchanged texts with Jim, and all he wanted to do was remind us to focus on the education budget.
Okay.
Because it's 75% of the overall budget, but I don't think any further action, I didn't think he wanted any further action on this evening.
Okay, I would just say that the Board of Selectmen they're going to receive kind of budget highlights on Tuesday morning. And then they'll start their deliberations. They're deliberating February 3rd, 4th, and 5th.
February 3rd, 4th, 5th.
Yeah, so if you guys
So it
are
would
going to
be
have
helpful to
assignments, it
have-
would be helpful to have it
Okay, so
thereabouts.
I'll send a note to Jim, and then I would ask everyone to send Jim a note with respect to if you have preferences, or if you're just whatever he assigns is fine, but just if you have a preference on what department to cover, shoot him a note sooner versus later, so that we can have those assignments in place prior to those deliberations.
Yeah, that would probably be helpful.
Do I need a vote to remove this from the agenda?
No, we can just put in the minutes that no action was taken.
Okay. Financial report.
Dan,
Mr. Davis.
we will be doing our assignments in F&B tomorrow night, and I'll get them to Jim, but I'll also send a text to Jim because it's good to know who everybody's working with, and then I'll coordinate with the other RTM committees for us.
Thank you. Financial report.
Feel like a broken record. The year is tracking mostly as expected. Property taxes through December are consistent with the prior year, which was good news. They were lagging a little bit, but through December now they're all caught up. Investment income is at just about $1 million remaining in order to meet budget, so we should exceed that, though the treasurer did tell me, now I can't remember if it was 4 banks or 6 banks have recently lowered their rates, so she's starting to see the rate decrease coming our way. But for this year, we should be totally fine. On the expenditure side, we're running a little hotter than expected on our general legal, but our regulatory council is it's trending well below budget, so I think between the two of those we'll be okay, or maybe need a little bit of transfer based on where we are right now.
What's the rationale on the general legal?
We have had some challenges to activity on Great Island that I don't think are appropriate to run through the bond funds, so we're going to have to pay them out of the general council.
Is that has to do with the trees, or is it? Okay.
Yeah, that's a good part of it.
Yep, all right. Okay, sorry.
So that was unexpected and unplanned for in the general fund. And then on the expenditure side, the police budget still has several vacancies, though I think they've got 1 officer now going to the academy, and I think they're lined up for a couple more hires. The 2 positions that you approved for facilities, the coordinator and the mechanic, are in process. I think we've received resumes and getting ready to do interviews on those. Everything else on the expenditure side is as expected. On page 4 is the state revenues. Those so far this year are as expected. We've taken in a little bit more on court fines than we would have seen through the first half of the year. They pay those quarterly, and it's usually pretty consistent. So that $14,000 is actually just our first quarter payment. And I did check with the police. They think that this money, they don't think, this money is the result of moving violations. The money gets sent to the state and we get a portion back. They had a big traffic enforcement campaign early in the year, so we think that that's what has bumped up this. So we wouldn't expect to see this for the full year for each of the quarters.
I trust that none of us have contributed to that.
The contingency accounts are all in good positions. I will be coming to you probably at the March meeting to close out capital projects. If we can get it together in time for February, it'll be then, but if not, we'll have it at the March meeting so you know what the capital reserve is as you go into your final budget decisions.
Hey, Jen, can we just go back to special ed cost reimbursement? I was talking to Paul a little bit. Looks like we might have a little bit of danger there. I read somewhere that they're anticipating more claims, right, Paul? Do you want to?
Yeah.
I just want to make sure everybody hears this.
We received notice last Monday that all towns are taking a haircut. Normally, the excess cost reimbursement is at least 70% of your excess cost. Last year it was at 66.7. They anticipate for this year it will be at 59.9%. So the Board of Ed this year budgeted $2.6 million, and they'll get, well, $2,639,216. The anticipated reimbursement will be $2,351,909. So this is an anticipated decrease of $287,307. So it's roughly 10 to 11% across the board, but it all depends for each district on how much they budgeted. To my knowledge, the funding hasn't changed. I think they project more claims against that funded amount. So that's what happened last year. They've increased the funding from 141 million to 151 million to 183 million last year, but that was supposed to have fully funded. They got 263 million in requests for funding, so that drove down the percentage. So that's one of the holes. And another hole you might see is for electricity, the public benefits charge that each of us has seen on our home has also been reflected in municipalities and the Board of Ed. In Trumbull, it's costing us, we have a $1.1 million budget for electricity. We anticipate an increase of 250 to 300,000 based on that charge alone. But that charge should expire in April.
That $1.1 million, is that here or Trumbull?
Trumbull.
What?
Trumbull?
No, that's across the board.
The $1 million was in Trumbull.
The public benefits
Benefit,
charge applies to all, both United Illuminating and Eversource customers. And I don't know, it's roughly 20 to 25% of my home bill.
But that number you specified was the impact in Trumbull,
Yes,
not the impact in their
on the 1.1
Yeah,
million
that's
that I
correct.
have in my budget, yes.
Thank you. Yeah, it's just, I just wanted to point it out, because might be a couple of holes we got to fill in.
Right.
The education budget, especially the excess cost. So, thank you.
Yeah, but those are unavoidable.
No, I know.
Yeah,
I'm just,
yeah, I mean,
I just want
I had
people
to
to be
take
aware
my
of it.
superintendent through that this morning.
Yeah.
If I could add to that, there was discussion at the Board of Ed. They're currently, in the current year's budget, 70%. And I anticipate they're going to have a discussion of whether or not to move it to 65 or 60%. On the other side, though, you know, Paul is right. The public benefit, if they don't add to that in the state legislature and do something else, it's supposed to be a one-year amount, but that's also currently at the 29-30% in the current proposed superintendent's budget. So that might be some potential savings for them that we should really be checking with Tracy Mara to see what she anticipates.
Room 119, she's down there now.
Is she?
Yep.
I'll go there.
All right, Jen, resume.
Other funds, the sewer fund is doing well. October collections were consistent with prior years. In the parking fund, we're doing well. We've collected about double what we spent because of the parking renewal period. Recreation program fund is on track to be able to make the $280,000 contribution to the general fund. And Great Island Management, we're down to only 2 rental units. So we are going to spend significantly more than what we took in. Right now, our landscaping, groundskeeping contract is about $13,000 a month. That's a set one. We're going to see some reduction in things like electricity, heating, fuel, and whatnot with the units being vacant, but that's not going to be big dollars. So we do have fund balance there, and we do have the budgeted contribution from the general fund. So for this year, that fund should be fine. Active bonded projects, we haven't added anything since the last time we looked at those. Great Island detail is there for you. I won't go into all of it. There's still some big unknowns on remediation and road widening. Those are still our big.
But not a lot of activity in the last month, right?
No, not much at all. That has really slowed down. And then we have ARPA. ARPA is now fully obligated. We had everything obligated by the December 31st deadline. I have documentation ready that supports all of the obligations that we have in place because that is a potential audit item for the summer. And a few of these should be wrapping up in the next couple of months. And then a couple of eds will be longer term. But I think we're almost done with ARPA.
how was the last kind of transfer to INI? Is that pretty straightforward, or was it?
Well, you have all the administrative transfers. Thank you so much for giving me the authority to do administrative transfers in ARPA. That was very wise. We did a lot of tail chasing as little bits and pieces came in, and finally an invoice came in, but it had this little extra and everything. So we did a lot of back and forth transferring, but using that sewer INI account as the catch-all worked really well.
Great.
You're welcome, Jen.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Happy New
you're
Year.
welcome for all the work we did. Yeah. It's amazing.
Thank you for letting me do the work.
It's nice to get a thank you once in a while. Okay, any questions on any of that?
No, but seriously, thank you on the ARPA
Thank
stuff.
you.
I know that
Yeah.
was, that was, it feels like it's been on the agenda for
Day of the year.
2 years for us, right? And we got almost, sounds like almost dollar accounted for, so that's great.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right. Next agenda item is a review and approve minutes of the December 17th, 2024 regular meeting. Any comments on those minutes? Can I have a motion to approve the minutes? Jenny, sorry.
That's okay.
Rob, Jenny
Moves.
moves, Rob seconds. All in favor?
I
Okay.
wasn't here, I guess I switched.
You can abstain, or you can
You
vote,
can.
but
Yeah.
if you want to abstain, that's fine.
Because you're
Yeah,
So abstain?
proving the veracity of it.
yeah,
Right.
no, I'll abstain.
Okay. All right, special assignments committee reports. We'll start at the end of the table. Mr. Cardone, you have all of the committees, so.
So this should be okay. We'll start
We're
with,
done here.
how did this table get tilted this way? Audit report, I think we're done.
We are
Right.
done. You guys, as the committee, have received copies of it, and I
Yeah.
just need to hear from you some dates that work to do that wrap-up call with the auditors.
Yeah, I'll make time, so.
I'll send out a reminder
Yeah,
to the
Jim
three
and
of
I.
you.
Yeah. So, audit's done. Dispatcher negotiations, we pick up the next round on January 29th. So we'll see how that goes, but we're far down the road with it. And HHS, John, great job, thanks for closing December. There was a bunch of numbers that came in from the architects and we're still kind of digesting them, so at the next meeting I'll have a better update, kind of where we are. But I think we're tracking, and we have an HHS meeting tomorrow night with the entire board. So we'll go through some of those items then. It's just kind of weird that our meeting is so early in the year. Like if this was a week, like next Tuesday, probably would do it, but I'll get you a better update next Feb. There's also some, somebody sent out some kind of like structural pictures that got done and how the construction was going. I want to get that to you guys so you guys can take a look. It's really interesting how well it's coming along. So it's kind of, I feel like a little bit like probably what you went through with Oxbridge, right? You just kind of see it.
Yeah.
The transformation is pretty amazing.
The
And-
Lego project gets built.
and we got some really dedicated people, both the external folks and then people internally that are trying to just help us along. So those are my three. Questions on any of that?
Nope. Anyone else? Pension?
We had a pension meeting on the 7th, and performance was about a point or two lower than what the benchmark was, and that was in low double digits. The funded ratio is still excellent for both the police and the town pension. Town pension is, I believe, 101%, and the police is 96%. And for OPEB, for town, it's 84%, and for the police, it's 74%. But that's basically because that's a relatively new fund. The actuarial defined contribution is going to go down slightly because you recognize only gains or losses 20% a year. And we had a big year, and not this year, but in prior year, we're recognizing another 20% of that, and that's helping drive down the contribution, so.
Thank you. All right, Chairman's report. I think Jim would remind us all to tune in to all the Board of Ed meetings and their deliberations, which are ongoing. I would simply remind people that Jim went through at the State of the Town the correlation between the Board of Ed budget and inflation, which is not zero, but not a lot. There are a few things, fuel oil and other things that are inflation, but a lot of those costs in the Board of Education budget are contractual and unrelated to inflation. So not to minimize the comments that were made earlier, but I think we've been down that road on that subject numerous times. So having said that, can I have a motion to adjourn?
Really quick.
Yep.
Board
Yes.
of Selectmen, you said, is going to be delivered a week from today? Is that what you said?
Yeah,
Is that
Tuesday
right?
morning.
Tuesday morning, so
Yep.
we'll see their
Yep.
books, no books?
No books.
Open gut?
Yep.
Bingo.
Which
I
I will
asked-
also, they changed the layout a little bit because why keep it the same? So in the past, I've given you instructions. I'll do that as well as record a video. Just click here, click there.
Oh, good.
That kind of thing.
Nice.
Thank you, John.
Anything
Going out with a
Help you
bang.
along.
Going out with a bang, I love it.
Anything else you'd like to add before we
Yeah.
adjourn?
Not that I can think of.
Good, because I've got my eye on 8 o'clock. Can I have a motion to adjourn? Rob, second. Paul, all in favor? We're adjourned.